chance he was going to throw President Trump under the bus.
Does that mean people are likely to gloss over his remarks, or was this an important statement to hear from him?
Oh, I don't think so. I think you're still going to hear people say things like, well, of course he had to say those things. Look, he's trying to get something from President Trump. Why on earth would you undercut President Trump when you're trying to achieve a number of objectives in the interest of Ukraine? What I saw there, more than anything, was I believe part of what's happening here is there are elements of the Democratic Party that want to destroy Joe Biden, and they want him off the ticket. And so every time this comes up, you hear President Trump talking about Joe Biden and talking about corruption with Hunter. This, I think, is by design. The far left that don't want to see him on the tickets that think, look at this and say, we get a twofer here. We can try to impeach Trump and we can hurt Joe Biden. And I think Joe Biden will be hurt by this.
The danger, though, is that Democrats aren't able to do any sort of legislative anything on their plate. They can't really talk about things like bring drug prices down. Their platform has been hijacked, right, by this very issue. Larry, I want to go to you. When you take a look at how this political chess game plays out, do you see that ultimately this harms Joe Biden and it influences the 2020 elections in that way?
Well, I'm going to use both my hands as an academic, on the one hand and then on the other. As your panel has suggested, I think certainly the left wing of the Democratic Party will try and use this against Biden, and he's already slipping in the national polls and in the key state polls. But there could also be a counter reaction, that is, a rally round the flag effect for Joe Biden. He's being attacked by Donald Trump and the Republicans, and Democrats may say, well, I'm going to support him because he's clearly the one that Trump doesn't want to run against. So you never know. But if I could just make one other point, this is all going to come down to what we've seen for the last 3 years, which is Democrats are furious at Trump and are pro-impeachment and believe every charge that's made, and the Republicans refuse to believe any of the charges. They will back up President Trump 100%, and when all this is over, assuming it's months before the election, you're going to find the same two coalitions, Democratic and Republican. Not that many votes will change.
So net, no effect, Larry, is what you're saying.
Yes, essentially, yes.
John Harwood, do you disagree with that, especially the analysis that says this takes Joe Biden out, a candidate who probably still is the most likely of the current Democratic field to have broad appeal for the 2020 election against Trump?
Well, I disagree in part. First of all, Joe Biden, as Larry indicated, has many problems aside from this issue. On the substance, there's no evidence that Joe Biden did anything wrong, and so in that sense, I don't think that's likely to damage him. However, he's got Elizabeth Warren coming like a freight train, who is catching him in national polls and, as Larry said, in state polls. Yes, far left wants to beat Joe Biden, but I'm not sure how much help they need on that at this point. I do think that it is possible that this set of circumstances is going to be damaging enough to the president that not only will he be impeached in the House, that some Republicans will break with him in the Senate. We've seen signals of that from Mitt Romney, saying he's deeply troubled by what he has heard. And I think the strategic silence of a lot of other Republicans indicates they're not sure exactly how far to go out on that limb for this president. And in terms of the president, what we saw him was turn up the fog machine on full blast, talking about Hillary Clinton's emails and the Biden thing because the plain words of this phone call transcript, which he released, I don't know if he wanted to release it or if he was forced behind the scenes by others. But in any case, he did. And I think it's damaging. And his response is go 100% at Democratic opponents.
At the same time, here we are sitting at the market session highs effectively on the S&P 500. We have a little bit of furthering weakness in the bond market with yields going a little higher on the back of this, Michelle. So all in all,
yeah, if I look at the narrative of the last 24 hours, when Nancy Pelosi said she was going to consider impeachment, we saw the market fall, not by much, 200 points, as Larry Sabato has pointed out. Even if you do it in the House, it's not getting through the Senate. I think once you saw this memo, transcript, whatever the official description of, because it's not an official transcript, come out, you saw the market rise as well. it's a little bit mixed with President Trump talking about the potential for a China trade deal. I would say if you really thought there was going to be a trade deal, you have a much higher market than we're seeing right now. So there's also this question of whether or not you actually believe President Trump when he says we're close to a trade deal. The market doesn't necessarily believe it anymore because we've been there before, and it hasn't happened.